Designing the business today, I am with Joanna Parker-Lentz, 50% of the Jodi and Joanna Group. I've been working with her for probably 26, 27 years as a realtor. She has expanded her business and she does sales and buying and helping her clients. But today we're going to just talk about how she designed her business, how she got into it, give us some insights for a successful real estate business. So, why did you start your business, Joanna?
Why? Well, the other 50% of my business is a good reason. We were new mothers to the area. We didn't have a lot of friends. I think we had one friend we met through Jodi, and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. So we decided to go out for the weekends with our third friend to go see estate sales. We were really interested in baskets at the time.
Oh,
We were
baskets.
obsessed with baskets. We had kids the same age, or, three of them were around 2.5. And we were doing barbecues at each other's houses constantly because we had no other friends. So it was like just occupying our time. And we realized that going into people's houses and going to these, weekend church sales was somehow pretty exciting. Like it was more exciting to go into the houses. So Jodi and I would go room by room, and our other friend who was obsessed with baskets, probably more than we were. She'd get there 15 minutes earlier. She'd hoard all the baskets for all of us. We'd go see her pile. And it was ridiculous. So eventually we're like, okay, how many baskets can we hoard? Like, this doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
We're spending our weekends, doing all of that because we just needed some time away from the kids.
Right.
So as we go into these houses, we're like fascinated by the stuff in them and by the moldings and by just the architectural details, and became, more of an obsession about seeing what was in these houses and seeing how they were designed and what people were selling. We could no longer acquire any more things because my husband would divorce me if I brought anything else home. And we got asked by our real estate agent who represented both of us. I was the accidental sale and Jodi was the tried and true. It took 6 months to find a home.
Okay.
So I leveled her out by buying the first house that I saw. Moving, yep. And moving 3 months before she did, pretty much.
Okay.
So I was alone here after she kind of forced me to meet with her realtor.
Right.
So her realtor really loved the idea that we had both come out of the city and thought, why don't you girls get your real estate licenses and do it as a referral and refer to me?
Okay.
That's how it started.
Wow.
She asked us to refer, and we're like, okay, we'll refer. And we'll continue going on these weekend warrior, journeys.
Right.
But the combination of being asked to take this and get our license together and falling in love with the homes that we were going into sparked the love of, wanting to sell real estate and helping people.
I love estate sales, so I totally understand. And I love going to homes. I totally get that part. How many baskets did you buy? Because I'm interested in that part.
I don't think it's safe to say. My husband might divorce me because they're stashed somewhere in my house.
Really?
They're hidden. There were over 100 baskets.
Wow.
Yeah, all varieties of baskets. We had the baskets for under the paper plates.
Right,
I think I
right.
had like 30 of those alone.
Okay.
I don't have those anymore, but I love baskets.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Okay. Baskets. So what impact do you want to leave with your business?
What impact?
Yeah. With the work you do.
So I would really love to be able to, if I ever retire, I would like to have a business that can grow with either my family or somebody's family who could take it over and create a meaningful future for themselves and for the people that they provide the business to. Because I think what makes Jodi and I unique is the fact that we're so entrenched in our communities. And I would love to have that caring for your communities be part of the business and continue with a community-minded, real estate team. I mean, right now we are still just a 2-person team. We have a full-time person who works for us and a buyer's agent who also lists with us. But eventually, we're getting older. So I'd like my impact to be a team that can last through the next generation of hopefully future realtors. So I'd love to teach somebody to do what we do and be mindful of your community and the impact you make on more than just real estate.
Right. So does that mean you vet your clients who buy in towns and stuff? Or do you actually, what's interesting, because in New Jersey, I'm from Canada, the towns are pretty much the same, but in New Jersey, the culture of towns can be very different, right? The makeup of towns. So have you found that you bring sort of, to a certain extent, you can help clients find that, like, once you get to the right town for them?
Well, that is what Jodi and I think are really good at, is figuring out how to, how to cultivate the relationships and the right types of people in towns, because we really value our client relationships after the closing. Obviously, we've known each other for a very long time. We're realtors, we're friends. we try to sell ourselves as realtors for life. We want people to call us when something goes wrong with any aspect of their house or things that they need help with. By connecting folks in the towns that they don't know other people in, it helps acclimate them to a better, situation moving.
Sure.
So we do try to create people's relationships with other people, or like we've introduced them to clubs or activities that make sense for their family. So we try to get to know what that family is like, what that couple is like, what that single person is
Sure.
like, what do they love to do? And by knowing what the activities they love to do and the things they love in their houses and their hobby, it really helps us shape what type of town makes sense. If somebody doesn't like nature, you might not appreciate living right next to a
Reservation.
or a bird sanctuary or something, that's nature related.
Right.
And if somebody really likes to ride their bike, you want to put them near places that are easy access for bikes.
Interesting. Yeah, because I just never even thought of that actually in terms of towns.
It makes sense to figure out the personality of the person and the personality of the town, and do they make sense?
Right.
Because if they don't make sense, and sometimes clients don't want to listen to that.
Sure.
Usually they do. But we had a client who specifically asked for certain things. We're like, gosh, you really belong in this town. This makes sense for you.
Right.
And your friends are going to be here.
Right.
And they're like, no, but we get so much more bang for our buck there. And we're like, well, you do. But the personality of your dynamic may not be right for even this neighborhood. Like you can't walk to places, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're going to really struggle with your commute to the city. And no, we want this. Within a year, they were like, this is exactly not what we want to. And turned out we were right. But it's not a fun way to find out that you're right.
Right. No, you don't want to know that. But you tried, right?
Yeah.
It's because mainly with my clients, they're already in the home.
Yeah.
And so they've already made that decision of where to be. But I do have to get to know them just like you. So that's the best way of helping.
Yeah. Finding out the personality, finding out the likes and dislikes. And Jodi will often say that, sometimes finding out somebody's dislikes are better because now like, oh, well, that's what they don't like or they think they don't like. And you can kind of figure out, realistically for a certain house, like, okay, will this really bother you? And sometimes we find that things that they really dislike, if it's the right house, they don't dislike it so much anymore. So sometimes you have to like understand how much that dislike is, if it's a discomfort or dislike, or if you can fix it, as a designer. It's like, oh, you may dislike this feature, but that's easily fixed. And we try to also come together and figure out, are the obstacles in what they're moving into obstacles that you can tackle with a designer, with an architect, with, a little bit of elbow grease and money. So, yeah.
Yeah. So is that one of your favorite client story? What is your favorite client story?
My favorite client story?
Yeah.
I would say one of my favorite client stories was actually a house swap. It was an accidental but purposeful house swap.
Okay.
I have clients who
Interesting.
Yeah. I have clients who I met looking for the right house. They were looking to go into a larger home. They loved everything about their home. And they were convinced that they were going to potentially sell it for sale by owner. And I was like, okay, but it's not the best idea because you really do want an expert. I mean, there's a reason why we make commission. And they thought, yeah, but we might try. We're not sure. But the hardest part for us is to find the right house. So sure enough, I go after an expired listing that had tried to for sale by owner for a little while, didn't make it. I was like, I know the perfect house for you. It was on the market for a very long time. It's beautiful. It has all the things that you love about your house. It's only slightly bigger, and that's what you want, slightly bigger. You want a bigger yard. I did the, knock on the door because we couldn't find the phone numbers. It was not like you could find people's phone numbers on the internet all the time. I said, I have clients. Is it okay? I couldn't really find your number. Since you for sale by owner, the husband was not available. So it kind of worked out. I said, yeah, you know what? We are actually thinking about selling. We'd love to schedule an appointment. So I made an appointment. I got to know the homeowner, and she actually has become a dear friend of ours, licensed.
Okay.
And, she was trying to do a part-time. And it's funny because her daughter is actually dating Jodi's son. So it's like a full life affair.
Right.
And
yeah, really entrenched in the community.
Very entrenched. But I also really she was such a great person. Her house was beautiful. The karma to this house was just, it was lovely. So I did bring in the folks who were looking for the slightly upsized house. And they're like, you know what? It's perfect. It was kismet. It just worked out. Like the deal was beautiful. They were so nice to each other. And she was looking for a downsize because she was getting separated. I'm like, well, you know what? I know you want it for sale by owner, but this is the perfect
fit
situation. It's a perfect fit. And she just needed a little smaller. She had two kids who were a little bit older than my client's kids. And we showed her the house and it was the perfect fit. It was. And she
That's
got it.
funny.
And it was just, she was there until her kids graduated. So that was like my favorite story of like all these things kind of working
Everything's
out and then our
aligned.
lives intertwining later on both sets of families.
Right.
And like really, we just sold that house last year
Okay.
for the clients that really loved it. They never would have moved if it wasn't for a job situation.
Right.
And we were able to sell that house for, you know, a really great number. And it was just, you know, also beautiful. Every improvement they made
Right.
was an improvement that, you know, was something that respected the house.
Right.
It was a nice full circle story.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it was neat.
Just a good story.
I kind of forgot about that. You know, Jodi would have called that a shadok.
A
A
shadok.
match.
The stars are aligning with that story, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
What's the biggest mistake you see your clients making?
Well, the biggest mistake I think might have been that one that I just told you before. It's
About
like just
for sale
not
by
taking
owner?
it. No,
Or-
well, for sale by owner, yes, it could be a big mistake financially for the person who's trying to for sale by owner. But I think not listening to the advice of your realtor and people that we put you in touch with.
Okay.
Because we try to put clients, if we don't know that it's going to be a good fit for them, we're like, look, talk to a client of ours who lives in that town.
Right.
And really do that research. And if you're going to live in a town, for example, that doesn't have a train, that's a midtown direct, do that commute. Like do the research for
See what
yourself.
it's- yeah.
And we'll tell you like, and do it at the hour that you're going to go. I know it's a little bit of extra work, but get up, do it, sit on that train, see what it feels like. There are some people who have high tolerance for a longer commute because they can read a book or they can do work. And others who are like, I just need to go. I need to
Right.
be in, out, and my commute can't be longer than 44 minutes,
Right.
whatever it is, door to
Yeah.
door. And I really try to tell people, like, if you're going to live in a beautiful town like Westfield that has amazing homes, understand your commute is going to take a little bit longer. And that's just what
Right,
you
it
have to
does.
deal with. But do that commute so you're not upset about it later. You know, taking my word for it is okay. It's not always enough. Like, allow me to guide you in doing the research that you need to do so you don't make that mistake. We try to like warn people. We don't take the prettiest route to the house sometimes because
Right.
we're like, look, you need to know that the train track is there. Jodi's biggest pet peeve was when she was taken around to look at houses, go 4 blocks around to avoid a train track. And then she's like, I drove around the other way and I saw the train track. Like, I'd rather show you the ugly things and the beautiful things about your neighborhood, your commute, and about your house so you can make the right decision. So a year from now, you're not like, man, Jodi and Joanna, they didn't tell me everything.
Right.
So
Well, it's very similar to like what I
it's-
do
it's
actually,
exactly what you
right?
do. It's pitfalls. It's
Yeah.
warning them of pitfalls.
Absolutely.
And for you, I'm sure when you're telling somebody design pitfalls, you're protecting them from, you know, their future
Yeah.
regrets.
Yes,
right?
because we know it's going to be time. We know it's going to be money.
Yeah.
And the effort. And then you don't want them, like in that case of the first story you told me, like a year later, they're like, we don't want to be here. Like it would have been like, you can only forewarn so much, right?
Yeah.
So like often what I will do is like you're saying, take a train and try it out. Like, look you don't like this layout that I'm suggesting to you with your furniture. Let's just move the furniture around because it'll cost you nothing. And then you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can feel it. And then we can go on to the next stage because, you know, change is hard.
Change is really hard. Change is hard for most people.
Right. And so these are major transformation, you know, moving,
Yeah.
buying a new home, redoing your home, renovations. These are big changes. So anything we can do to
minimize the future stress.
Right.
My job as a realtor, I feel like every realtor should be looking at your client's future and trying to figure out how to help them be guided,
Ahead.
right?
Right.
Ahead.
Yeah,
It's not just
ahead.
for right now.
No, right, exactly.
It's for that future. And especially when you're spending the most money in your life on your singular purchase
Yes.
and then renovating or doing things to your
exactly.
biggest purchase, you really have to think a bunch of steps ahead.
Right.
And I think that's where Jodi and I will mother somebody into their transaction, their situation as best as we can, using the knowledge we have. Of course, we
Right.
don't know everything, but
Right.
like, and we have to get to know that person and that the client
Right.
to anticipate how they might, you know, interact with their house and their surroundings, their neighborhood, and the town that they ultimately move to.
But having done this for so long too, it's the experience. You've seen it again and again. I mean, it's the same thing for me with redoing a kitchen or a living room again and again. Like I've hit the same, you know, the same problems.
Absolutely.
Right. You're like, okay, I've done that. This has been this is some of the solutions that
Worked for you.
that
and
work that
for
have
the
worked
clients.
and have
Yeah.
worked in the past.
Yeah.
That I would recommend. Now you may not do it, but yeah.
Right. And there's never a one size fits all. So, you know, there's so many nuances to
Correct.
both of the businesses that we're in, very related businesses, because
Right.
it's so much personal choice
Mm-hmm.
and the stress behind making those personal choices.
Am I making the right choice? Am I spending all this money and doing the right thing?
Right.
Right. Those are big life-changing choices. Yeah. And it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks when you're wrong. It really
Yeah.
sucks. So what's the biggest misconception people have about your business?
That it's just, getting a set of keys and opening the door and being like, oh, voila, here is a house. Go enjoy it.
Go have fun.
I think people don't realize, and I've noticed this with new agents who come into the business thinking that they're going to join our team and have so much fun, because we do present as though we're having a lot of fun, because we do. We have a lot of fun doing what we do.
Mhm.
But people think it's just all fun. There's not enough. There's not all the other work that goes into it. There's the ugly parts. There's the getting through home inspections, getting through finding out that you don't have just one oil tank, but you have two.
Yeah.
Oopsie daisy. The obstacles that come up. And I think people don't realize how much work goes behind keeping those transactions together. You put a deal together, and that's the lovely part. You match that person to the right house, and you hopefully have a decent negotiation with realtors that, you can have a decent relationship with. I don't think people realize how much relationships matter. Like working with other agents is a business unto its own.
Right.
If you don't have the relationships and you don't have the trust that's built within the communities you represent, which is why I have a hard time sometimes with people representing an entire state, because you don't have those relationships. You try hard to meet people and be honest and convince them that you are a trustworthy, honest person, that your bid should be accepted.
Right.
But unless you have that history with a certain community or a reputation that precedes you, it makes it a little harder. Well, I think the misconception is that it's just a very easy business to run, and there's not a lot of substance to it potentially. And there are a lot of pitfalls, and you need, a backbone, you need a personality, you need the reputation, you need honesty and integrity to be able to guide somebody through these transitions of the pitfalls of each deal.
And how do you get that? That's part of my next question, which is, what advice would you give a professional just starting out? You named it, but then how do you get that? Like, how do you get that knowledge? And
it's hard. Everybody was green once, and I think you can't. As a new agent, a couple things you could do. For Jodi and I, it was not to be new agents alone.
Okay.
We were new agents together, and we relied on our office very heavily. We relied on mentors. We relied on our manager who, for better or for worse, she taught us certain things. Other managers taught us other things. We weren't there for a long time because we didn't get the value out of that particular manager, but we had amazing mentors at our first company. And I'll never forget, Phyllis Brightman took us under her wing, and so did Gertrude Carrington, two ladies who were like the, old fashioned real estate mavens, very different styles. But, when we didn't know how to write a contract, we were the first to say, and our client would drive around with both of us in the car. He knew we were new, but he also knew we were voracious, researchers and learners, and we were willing. We were working together. So we're like, look, we're both green. If you're willing to go on this journey with us, we have a fabulous group of mentors. And that first offer that we wrote with Gertrude Carrington in the room with her pen and paper, and the contracts were written by hand. And she was like, and this is how you write this. And she filled everything out with us. She sat with us for an hour and a half.
Nice.
She explained the contract, even though Jodi and I had done it, cold.
Practice.
Behind the scenes. She just took us under her wing. It was just the most beautiful thing that she was able to do for us. I'll never forget it. And that's what you have to do, is kind of figure out who the people who can guide you in your immediate sphere of whichever office you're with. I mean, the beautiful thing now is you have teams.
Right.
When we started, there were no teams. We were one of two teams. And there were mentors, but the mentors that we were being assigned, we kind of had to find the people that worked with us.
Right.
And Phyllis helped us get our first listing. She's like, look, I'm a 10%er. You just have to pay me 10%. It was like the most generous gift.
Right.
She's like, 10%, that's it. She walked us through the first listing, and she just helped us. So I feel like if you align yourself with people who are smart, generous, kind, and good realtors,
Right.
and you have an office that is helping. I mean, look, we're all competition with each other, but whether you're a competing office or a competing person, but we all have to work with each other. So there are people in the business who do want to help guide young realtors, whether they want to train them into their own business because they want to groom them to take over their business, or they want, a younger partner. So just finding a crew. You can't do it alone.
No, you can't. But it's wonderful now, because like 30 years ago, we didn't have the internet. So even if you can't find somebody immediately, like within your sphere, you can go and you can find mentors that are online that are so generous in their time. And get that information, at least to get started, to give you some guidance on the basics, and then, other relationships.
Sure. And look, if you're involved with a good local real estate agency and a company or a team that you decide to join, there's no shortage of people who are willing to help.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do need it, and you need to learn, and you need to actually admit that you don't know everything. And that's the hard part. The biggest pitfall that we found with someone we saw starting out in the business is the idea that saying I don't know was scary to this person. And we just said, look, don't ever answer a question that you don't know with an answer. And I don't know is perfectly fine. You could say, I don't know, I'll find out. I don't know, but I'm sure Jodi and Joanna will know.
Right.
And that's a powerful thing too.
Yeah.
And I learned that very early on too. I made a mistake. I answered a question I never should have. And it was on a friend's purchase. And it was on one of the first people who took a chance on us, like the first 5 listings we ever had. I accidentally misstated something and it was not included. And it was like, whoa, I assumed it was included. I didn't ask. I just wanted to answer because I was like, yes, it is. I know it. And I felt horrific. I represented the buyer on it and we represented the seller on it. So I felt like a total horse's ass. And I said, look, and at that point, we're working for somebody else who was like, look, you have to take ownership and you have to admit to everybody you did this. And I paid for it. I said, it's not included. I'm going to pay for it. It was my mistake. And Jodi was like, well, split it. I'm like, no, this was so my mistake. You had nothing to do with it. And it was just a lesson learned, but it was a very powerful lesson. I can't overstate.
But it's, and doing that, that's where you build the trust with your clients because you're willing to take that responsibility. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're all human.
Right.
But you are willing to take on that responsibility and say, okay, yeah, I made a mistake. I'm going to make it right. Because, that's what I want to hear when I'm doing business with somebody. So that's what I want to give.
You can't make excuses. And
you can't.
blame it on
I just was really tired that day.
Yeah.
Like everybody's really tired. I was really busy. Everybody's really busy. Just say sorry. Take the responsibility. Own it.
Own it and learn from it.
Yeah.
And learn not to pretend to know everything. Like it's okay to not know everything.
Right. You started somewhere. Like how is it possible to know everything? It's impossible.
Right. I still am learning things.
Oh my gosh.
After this many years. Like I'm always, my takeaway is like, wow, I can learn something from anybody and everybody because no transaction is ever the same. So you're it's always unique and there's a nuance and no house is the same.
Right.
So, like you might have designed 5,000 of these really complicated kitchens, but on the 5,001 project, you've learned another thing.
New.
So
exactly.
And never be afraid to keep learning and always admit that you have the ability to keep learning and changing. And just because you learn something one time doesn't mean you're not going to take it differently 10 years later because you've grown and changed.
Right. Exactly.
So as long as you're growing and changing and willing to adapt to the possibility that you might be wrong, you'll always learn something.
Agreed. It can be exhausting. It's like, oh my goodness. I thought, every time I learn something, I'm like, that just means there's so much more I really didn't know.
I know,
right?
So much more.
But it's exciting.
It does. Every day is different.
Yes.
That's the cool thing about this career, yours and mine.
Yes.
Every day is different with people, with houses, with the decor, the design, and I love all of it.
So what keeps you inspired to continue? People.
There are so many people who need this kind of assistance, whether it's from a realtor or a designer. Like it is a full-time job for a reason, yours and mine. Yeah. Because there are definitely some gifted people out there who are great designers for themselves. And there are some people who could represent themselves here and there. But to have the nuanced, nature of this business, you need to be professional. And I think meeting the amount of people that we meet, it keeps the days interesting. And I think having the people who really appreciate what we do and the advice that we give that's very powerful too. It's like to have someone take your advice and be willing to go that distance and say, you know what, you're right. I did this made my life better. It's kind of cool. It does feel good to help people. Like ultimately, it really is about helping people.
It is totally. It's all about service.
Make the decisions that they make their decisions better. Right. Because they can make the decisions, but they may not make the right decision for themselves. And if you can widen that path of like, here, this is why this might be a right decision for you. Think about it this way. So just being an advisor is nice.
It is. It feels good, right? So when you help somebody and it impacts their life in such a positive way. And that's, what we want to do.
Right. And as well as I do, when you're helping people in different stages of life, like that keeps it really interesting and fresh too. There are so many different reasons why people move, or why they design, and you get to the core of what is making that move happen. Sometimes it's a really happy move. Sometimes it's a really miserable move.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a sad move. And you're in this very intimate space with people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that's why the business is relationships with your clients. The business is relationships with the people that you bring in as your team, your designers, your architects, or
Absolutely.
your handymen. And it's a relationship business with the colleagues that you have to sell real estate with. If you can align those together and make each other's lives a bit easier and better, by setting the expectations of like, oh, hey, love my handyman, love my contractor. This is what you should expect. Don't be disappointed if this happens.
Right.
If you need, this, or this is the designer's personality and
Right.
this is how they're going to interact with you. And just kind of setting those expectations are like, this is how this realtor acts. Don't be nervous or don't be worried or don't be offended. This is how, this interaction is going to be.
Yeah.
And if you can set people up for managing those expectations, it sets you up for better
Right.
situation.
And everybody is successful then.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully.
That's the plan. I mean, that's the goal, right? Make life better.
Yeah.
So what's one thing about yourself that you are working on changing? Is there anything right now?
I'm working on changing a lot of things, I hope. I am working on staying open and listening better. I think that's a skill that you think you know and you think you are it. But as you get older and you get set in your ways, you realize, I'm not listening as well. I'm telling people what they should be expecting, but I'm also not hearing them. So I feel like I'm always trying to retune my brain to make sure I can listen better, take in things, that are coming from other people better.
That's a good one because it is true. We've heard it a million times. Okay, let me just get to the point, right?
Yeah.
What do you think needs to be improved in your industry?
That's a hard one. Relationships sometimes. I think that many of us have great ones, but I think if we all take into account the fact that a very wise realtor told me this. So like, look, clients may come and go in your life, but the realtors are there to stay. So if there's kindness, if there's honesty, if you look out for each other, I think that's really helpful. I think in the industry with clients, I would hope that some clients out there might have a little bit more of a mindset of like, okay, I actually trust the person I hired as opposed to I don't trust them. I think every realtor out there's lying. Let your trusted individual to guide you in that. I think a sense of distrust sometimes is out there, and the reputation that, very often would precede us that we're like used car salesmen. But I think there's plenty of used car salesmen that are good.
Absolutely.
I think there's plenty of, people that are good, but there's good, bad, and ugly. There's not everybody. You're not going to get everyone. And the industry is big and varied. And selling in a whole state is tough because you don't know some of the people coming in.
Right.
So the assumption from some people is like, well, snake oil salesman, I don't know them. And until you get to know somebody, you don't necessarily trust them.
Right.
So
it's building that trust.
It's building that trust,
and showing up the same way. Knowing you're going to show up the same way every time that you're there. Yeah. They have their back. You're there to help them.
Yeah. And I think the obstacles for us is probably a lot of, stuff that gets tacked on from like federal cases and things that throwing more paperwork at us. So that in our industry is a little bit tough right now.
Right.
Because we've been thrown a lot more stuff, a lot more obstacles that don't have to be there.
Right.
But happen because of something, nationally. And now we're all suffering the consequences. But I think as long as, we're communicating to each other as realtors and helping each other along, learning these new laws and teaching our clients how to navigate and how to deal with it. So a little bit too much red tape in the industry and a lack of trust sometimes. So those are my two obstacles that I try to navigate as well as I can by learning about all of the new things that are coming at us. And it is an ever-changing world, and the internet makes it very different. And the creation of AI and finding honest materials out there sometimes, navigating that. Don't look everything up. Just like a doctor would say, don't go on the internet and find your diagnoses. Come to me to find out the real answers. Don't just ask AI for everything. Some of it's not real.
True. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
What would I tell my 20-year-old self? I got in the business when I was in my 20s.
What would you tell yourself now?
Trust, I don't know, because I think that was the hardest part for me is admitting the I don't know. That's why I got that mistake. Jodi never got in that mistake. She would constantly say, she's like, don't say something that you aren't 100% certain on. So trust the I don't know. And I think I didn't want to trust that. And possibly because I was so young and I wanted to know every answer. I also didn't like to be the newbie who didn't know it. But I didn't have the experience. So trust that you're going to learn it. trust that people can trust you by
Yes.
saying, I don't know. And by being really a diligent researcher and like, I'll go find this out. And I'll find it out by the afternoon. And I'll ask all the smartest people that I know and trust the smartest people that you know. That they're going to guide you. So that's what I would tell myself. Allow yourself to be an
I should
idiot.
be telling myself that today too.
Yeah.
There's always people who know more. Like, okay.
Yes. And don't be afraid to learn from people who know more than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you, Joanna. That was very insightful and I really enjoyed it. If people want to get a hold of you, where should they go? What's the best place?
They should go to jodiandjoannagroup.com.
Okay, perfect.
If they just Google Jodi and Joanna Group, you'll find me.
We'll put some of the links below too for them. And if you're looking, talk to Jodi and Joanna.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thanks.
Always awesome to talk to you.
Absolutely.
I learn something new all the time.
Me too. Me too. Oh my goodness. Thanks.